All right, next fighter to the scale is the gentleman around whom this fight card was built, the reigning, defending, undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world, Magomed Ankalaev. 204.5, the official weight for Magomed Ankalaev. All right, next fighter to the scale is the other man around whom the fight card was built, the future Hall of Famer, former two-division UFC champion and #1 ranked light heavyweight contender, Alex Pereira. 204.5, the official weight for Alex Pereira. And with that, your UFC 320 main event is now official. All right, next fighter to the scale, making the third defense of his bantamweight title here in 2025, the undisputed bantamweight king, Merab Dvalishvili. 135, the official weight for the champion Merab Dvalishvili. First-time undisputed title challenger, the #4 ranked UFC bantamweight in the world, Corey Sandhagen. 134.5, the official weight for the challenger, Corey Sandhagen. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim at a catch weight of 153 pounds, Ju-Sung Yu. 152.5, the official weight for Ju-Sung Yu. All right, next athlete to the stage, the #10 ranked women's bantamweight, Yana Santos. 135 for Yana Santos. All right, next athlete to weigh in this morning, charged with kicking off the pay-per-view main card in the middleweight division, Joe Pyfer. 186, the official weight for Joe Pyfer. All right, next fighter to the scale, also competing live on pay-per-view, the #8 ranked featherweight in the world, Josh Emmett. 146, the official weight for Josh Emmett. Next fighter to the scale is his opponent, the 9th ranked featherweight in the UFC, Youssef Zalal. 146 for Youssef Zalal. All right, next man up, competing in a bantamweight prelim live on FX and ESPN Plus, Chris Gutierrez. 136, the official weight for Chris Gutierrez. All right, next fighter to the scale, one half of the featured prelim in the middleweight division, Trustin Vines. 185 for Trustin Vines. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in the welterweight division, Ramiz Brahimaj. 170.5, the official weight for Ramiz Brahimaj. All right, next fighter up, back to the middleweight division, Andre Muniz. 185.5 for Andre Muniz. All right, next man to the scale, competing in a featured bout live on pay-per-view, the former undisputed UFC light heavyweight champion, now the #2 ranked contender, Yuri Prochazka. 206, the official weight for Yuri Prochazka. All right, next athlete to the scale, competing in the featured prelim in the middleweight division, Ateba Gauthier. 186 for Ateba Gauthier. All right, next fighter up in the welterweight division, Austin Vanderford. 170.5, the official weight for Austin Vanderford. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in the bantamweight division and making his UFC debut here tomorrow night, Jakub Wickwacz. 136, the official weight for Jakub Wickwacz. All right, keeping it moving in the middleweight division, Edmen Shahbazyan. 185.5, the official weight for Edmund Shabazian. All right, next fighter up competing tomorrow night at a catch weight of 153 pounds, Daniel Santos. 151 for Daniel Santos. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in the women's flyweight division, back for the first time in a long time, Brogan Walker. 124.5 for Brogan Walker. All right, next athlete to the stage, competing in the bantamweight division, Farid Basharat. 136, the official weight for Farid Basharat. All right, next man to the scale, competing live on pay-per-view, former light heavyweight title challenger and the number 4 ranked contender, Khalil Roundtree Jr. 205, the official weight for Khalil Roundtree Jr. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim in the women's flyweight division, Veronica Hardy. 125.5, the official weight for Veronica Hardy. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing in a prelim in the welterweight division, Punahele Soriano. 170.5, the official weight for Punahele Soriano. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim in the bantamweight division, Patchy Mix. 136, the official weight for Patchy Mix. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing in a prelim in the welterweight division, Nikolai Veretennikov. 170.5, the official weight for Nikolai Veretennikov. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing live on the pay-per-view main card in the middleweight division, Abus Magomedov. 185.5, the official weight for Abus Magomedov. All right, our final fighter to weigh in this morning, the number 5 ranked women's bantamweight contender, Macy Chasson. 137.5 for Macy Chasson.